I'm Ian Charles, and I'm here to talk to you about how you can use your office phone system remotely, keeping your business going during lockdown. First, we can achieve all of this remotely. We don't have to visit your office or home or in any way break quarantine. Second, let's talk about your numbers. We can port or forward all your existing numbers to the new system, meaning you can make and receive calls using the usual numbers from home. Third, all of this exports back into your office or to another location, maybe even a hotel or even McDonald's Wi-Fi if needed. A quick word about the hardware. You don't need anything special. This is a very basic 3-year-old PC, very straightforward. This laptop's about 8 years old. It's actually my daughter's student laptop repurposed, and a smartphone. All these three are set up as my extension. I also own a VoIP phone, which you don't actually need. It's nice to have, but instead of which you can make and receive calls using this simple, very cheap mono £33 headset from Amazon. Now, so the summary then, you can use any PC or Mac that will run a browser to deliver your extension. Phone calls use very little bandwidth, and so if you live remotely and have poor broadband, provided your teenage kids aren't on Netflix or file sharing, you can make and receive phone calls. The web client I'm going to show you is included with the charges. It's also included is making and receiving calls over your office numbers. We're also going to look at the free of charge smartphone app that will run on iOS or Android. But first, setting up and making a call. You get an email from the system admin, and you scroll down to that to the If Out of Office. You click on the link there. It creates the web client where you can see you've got all the functionality you might need. People, these are all on the internal network. You've also got access to voicemail, conferencing, and so on, which we'll look at in a bit more detail. I can initiate calls from here, so I can make an internal call. I can also type a number in here. Let's type the and I just hit return. It makes the call, and there you go. It's just simply making making an outbound call. Another nice feature. It can also make you can use click and dial. So I pick on a number here. Let's call Mr. Walter Mitty of Fantasy Fabrications. I click on that number there. Again, it generates the call. I hit return. It initiates the call, and away we go. Very, very straightforward. So we've established that in 2 clicks I can set up the free of charge web client. I can begin making and receiving calls. Let's look now at the free of charge app that runs on a smartphone. This will run on iOS or Android. I go to the Play Store, I download it, I install it, I run it, and it then begins to install. It then demands that you scan the QR code. So this is where you physically hold the phone up to the QR code, and we find that again on the web client in settings. You scroll down and you find scan QR code, and away you go. It installs, and you've then got a dialer and various tabs along the bottom, which we'll go into in a bit more detail shortly. And this is how it presents on the and that's how you make and receive calls using the system. I have mine in effectively the system tray on my phone, and that's how I use it. Okay, quick look at video and audio conferencing. Back into the web client. There are a couple of ways I can do that. I can have an ad hoc meeting, which I just set up by clicking on web meeting, send the credentials out to people to join me there, and as you can see, I have a great face for radio. I can also schedule a conference. So I create the conference. I can do it now or later. I can use audio, video and audio, one or the other. It's fair to point out that if you're going to use video conferencing, it does use significantly more bandwidth than voice calls. So you need to be careful about how you use this. You create the meeting. You send out the the invitations out via email, and there's nothing to download at the far end. They simply click on the link. It downloads the add-in, and away you go. There's also a mobile web meeting client, so they can make and receive calls by that means. Okay, chat. Chat is a very instant messaging. A lot of interesting feedback from our clients who traditionally, a lot of whom forbid it in their organisation. But during lockdown, working remotely, it's an extremely useful tool. A couple of ways of doing it. First off, I can access it through the web clients. Again, I can click on individuals, and I can create a private chat there. The other alternative is that I can do it through the app. So there's a tab on the bottom. I click on chat. That is what I see. This is who's available. I then click on the next one, and I'm able to chat with the individual there. Extremely powerful and constructive tool. Very useful.